The morning sun had only just begun to rise over the vast savanna, stretching its golden fingers across the rolling grasslands. When Ranger Elias Morgan stepped out from the battered metal door of Research Station K-17, this remote outpost sat at the edge of the Serengeti's densest woodland, a place known equally for its breathtaking beauty and its hidden dangers. Elias had spent 12 years studying the predators that roamed the plains, especially a pride of lions he had personally tracked since their cubhood. Among them was Kovu, a massive male with an amber mane, and an unusual bond with the ranger. Some called it luck, others intuition, but Elias believed it was mutual respect. A human who had once saved a lion cub, and a lion who had grown into a king, who never forgot that moment. The air smelled of dew and wild herbs as Elias slung his worn-out leather satchel over his shoulder. He checked the tranquil in his belt, his binoculars, his GPS tracker, and the logbook he had to update before the Research Council's mid-season audit. The soft chirping of starlings fluttered through the trees. Nothing felt out of place. That was always the danger. The jungle seemed calmest just before something went terribly wrong. Elias began walking toward the woodland trail, leading to the observation post near the river bend. His mission today was simple: verify the lion pride's new territory marks after last night's movement, and check camera traps placed throughout the area. The grass, damp from the night, brushed softly against his boots. Small gazelles darted across his path, startled by his presence but quick to return to grazing. Everything was routine. Everything felt safe. Until it didn't. Far beneath the thick shade of acacia trees, an enormous rock python, the largest species on the continent, uncoiled slowly. Its scales, painted in earthy mosaics, blended perfectly into the forest floor. At nearly 22 feet long and weighing over 100 kilograms, the python was a silent, calculated hunter. The ranger, unaware he was headed directly toward a coiled threat, continued deeper into the shaded grove. Elias knelt beside a camera trap to check the battery level. He wiped dust from the lens and scribbled a note in his logbook. His back was half-turned when a faint rustle behind him made him freeze. Before he could react, something thick and powerful snapped around his left leg, yanking him to the ground with a force that knocked the breath out of him. His notebook flew into the air. His head hit the dirt. A second coil wrapped over his torso, pinning his arms. A third curled across his chest, forcing air from his lungs. "A python!" he gasped, but the pressure around his ribs began to crush any words that tried to escape. The snake knew exactly how to take down prey larger than itself. Every time Elias struggled, the coils tightened, his vision blurred. He tried reaching for the tranquilizer gun strapped to his belt, but his fingers couldn't move more than an inch. The crushing force grew unbearable. Each breath became a war. Panic rushed through him, real primal panic. The kind a human only feels when the body knows it is seconds from breaking. He heard a faint growl in the distance. At first, he thought it was hallucination caused by the lack of oxygen, but the growl grew louder, deeper, closer. Something thundered through the grass. A shadow burst from between the trees. A mane of blazing gold flashed in the sun. Kovu. The lion roared, louder than Elias had ever heard in 12 years. It was not the roar of dominance, nor the roar of hunting. It was the roar of fury. The python's head shot upward, distracted, allowing Elias a half-breath of precious air. Kovu charged forward, claws tearing through soil, tail lashing like a whip. The python tried tightening its grip around the ranger, but the lion slammed his weight onto the serpent's back, jaws snapping dangerously close to its head. The python released Elias's torso for a split second to defend itself. That split second saved his life. Elias gasped violently, air flooding his lungs in sharp, painful gulps. His ribs felt like they were full of knives. He tried crawling backward, but his leg was still trapped under part of the python's body. Kovu roared again, biting down on the python's thick neck. The snake hissed in agony, thrashing wildly, slamming its coils against the ground in an attempt to loosen the lion's grip. The battle was violent, primal, terrifying. The python twisted its massive lower body and whipped Kovu across the face. The lion staggered but did not retreat. Blood trickled from a scratch above his eye. His pupils narrowed to razor-sharp slits. He lunged. Again, this time catching the python right behind its skull. The serpent coiled around Kovu, trying to trap him the way it trapped Elias. But lions were not built like humans. Kovu's immense muscles fought back with explosive power. His claws ripped deep into the python's scales. For the first time in the fight, the python realized it had picked the wrong prey. Elias, dazed but conscious, pulled his leg free and crawled toward the log where his tranquilizer gun had fallen earlier. Every breath hurt. Every movement felt like fire. He reached for the gun, his fingers trembling, and loaded the strongest dart he had. Kovu's roar shook the air again, a raw warning. Finish it. Now. Elias raised a tranquilizer, aimed at the section of the python not tangled around the lion, and fired. The dart hit. The python thrashed once more violently, but within seconds its movement slowed, then weakened, then stopped completely. Elias collapsed backward, panting. Kovu stood over him, chest heaving, watching the lifeless python with flared nostrils before turning toward the ranger. Their eyes met, man and lion, years of trust reflected in that moment. And that was when Elias realized Kovu hadn't just appeared by chance. He had come to save him. For several long seconds, Elias could only lie there, overwhelmed by the sheer violence of what had just happened. His body trembled uncontrollably, not from fear alone, but from the adrenaline crash that followed near death. Every breath was shallow, stabbing at bruised ribs. The python's coils had left deep. Purple marks across his torso, shoulder, and hip. He forced a shaky hand against the ground, trying to sit upright, but a sudden wave of dizziness washed over him. The world spun. A low rumble vibrated beside him. Kovu, pacing in tight circles, nostrils flaring as he scanned the forest for any lingering threat. Elias managed a hoarse whisper. Easy, boy. I'm okay. The lion paused, turning his massive head slowly toward him. His amber eyes, bright as molten metal, locked onto Elias's face. There was something in them that always unsettled researchers who visited the station. Too much understanding, too much awareness. But for Elias, those eyes were a comfort, a reminder of an old history. Kovu approached carefully, lowering his head until his warm breath washed over Elias's cheek. The lion bumped his forehead gently against the ranger's shoulder, a gesture he hadn't done since he was subadult. Elias lifted a trembling hand and brushed his fingers across the lion's mane, feeling the coarse, sun-warmed strands beneath his skin.